Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight, season 12, episode 7. So we continue from last week. Last week the honeymoon was over. So on this episode, the couples are returning from honeymoon. They're going to be moving in with each other into the neutral apartment. Um, and it was quite a challenging episode. So a couple of things happened with most of the couples. So I'll start off with Haley and Jake, and we'll end off with Chris and Paige, just because a lot more happened with Chris and Paige. So with Haley and Jacob, it's still a bit awkward given the incident that happened last episode, where Haley went downstairs to left to say she was going to meet up with the girls, but it turns out she ended up being with the other couples, and when Jake came, he felt they sort of ran away from him. Um, so they get back to the apartment. They get into the neutral apartment, get into this conversation about what happened and what their expectations are for their marriage. And for me, I think Haley's still holding back. She's still not putting in as much effort as Jacob is, and so I don't know how long this can go on because they keep going at it, and Jacob is trying to understand where Haley is coming from and what he can do to sort of make things better and give their marriage a fighting chance. And Haley is very withdrawn and she's sort of holding back and she's not forthcoming with information that makes it very difficult for Jacob to understand. And with this couple, the problem they have is something happened during the honeymoon and Haley won't say what. And because she won't say what's happened, whatever's happened, it sort of put her off her husband, or appears to have put her off her husband, because of the way she responds to him or the way she sort of talks to him. And so I really don't know what's going to make things any better, because they then decide to sleep in separate rooms. Jacob apologizes sometime overnight. So in the morning, Haley does mention that Jacob apologized, but there is no mention of Haley actually apologizing to Jacob, which is a bit strange given that both of them were upset, and you'd expect for in a marriage for them to compromise and for them to work to move forward. You'd expect both of them to apologize because the other feels aggrieved, but nothing is said about Haley's apology. So they then go to visit each other's apartments. Um, Jacob is very sort of inquisitive and is going through Haley's stuff and sort of highlighting things that he feels are 80s related because he's got this 80s obsession. And for Haley, when she visits his apartment, I think it turns her off a lot more because of the way he goes on about his 80s stuff. And because I've said before that he's a bit socially awkward, I think he struggles to know, Jacob struggles to know when to sort of change conversations, in my opinion, because someone else would have read that things have turned and would have maybe moved away from the 80s stuff. But then he kept going on and on about his stuff. And so when they meet up with Pastor Carl does mention they have this conversation, and Haley does say, she feels that she's sort of holding back, and she doesn't know how she can sort of move forward. And Pastor Carl tries to find out about this 80s obsession and sort of tries to explain to Jacob, what the things that could be off-putting or what he could do to maybe give their marriage a fighting chance. And I don't know what else they can do because at this point it doesn't seem like it's going to work. It seems like maybe the match is not. It seems Jacob is not what Haley was looking for in a partner, and because of that, she's just switched off and is about to disengage. And I hope she gives him a chance because it could be outside of the 80s stuff and the fact that he's obsessed with his gym stuff and his meals. There might be something else she might actually find she likes if she gives him a chance and is more open to exploring their relationship. So we'll see how they go, and hopefully things will get better. From there, we move on to Clara and Ryan. Clara and Ryan seem to be doing very well. In my opinion, Clara and Ryan are going to shock everybody. I know some people think they're not going to work, but I think they're the totally opposite of Jacob and Haley, because Clara and Ryan are in their lane, they're staying in their lane, they're focusing on what they're doing, they're sort of trying to work out and assess and see whether this is something that could work for them. And when they visit each other, you can see from the minute they visit each other's places, they're sort of trying to see to learn more about their partner. They're trying to see what they can do to accommodate their partner into their life. Because, for example, when Clara visits Ryan's house, she says it's very clean, but when she opens the cupboards, she can see that it's a bit messy. And they come up, with a compromise of when Ryan goes to Clara's, he realizes that actually she's a bit more tidy than he realized, and so they come up with a compromise of, oh, I'll wash and dry and you pack. So you can see these are two people that are working at the same pace. They're trying to really make their marriage work. And I think for them, the only problem is the words "I love you." I think that's all Clara wants to hear, because you can see she appears to be falling in love with Ryan, because you can see with their body language, the way they respond to each other, the way they communicate, and the way they're sort of willing to compromise, that they are going to work. And because there's not a lot of drama going on with them at the moment, there's no chaos with them at the moment. I think everybody's going to be shocked to actually find that they're going to work and actually have a very successful relationship. Obviously, when they meet with Pastor Carl, they do have the conversation with, about Ryan never having said "I love you," and Clara does express her concerns because she's worried that, he might never fall in love with her. And Pastor Carl is able to explain to her, because I think whatever explanation Ryan was given in what it means to be in love, he is stuck to it. So Pastor Carl was trying to make him understand that there are certain things, certain gestures, certain words that or certain things that you might do that might actually be an indication that you're in love with someone. So if you are able to if you're concerned about them, if you're willing to do for them, that's a sign that you are actually falling in love with this person. And I think it was able to provide some clarity to both Clara and Ryan. And I think if they can take on board what Pastor Carl has said and they can really work on it, they should be able to move forward, and they should be able to sort of have a successful relationship. From there, we move on to Erik and Virginia. Erik and Virginia are doing okay, I think, in my opinion. Other people might disagree, please comment. But they are doing as well as can be expected. We really didn't see much of Virginia drinking this episode, so I would assume she does have days whereby she's completely dry. I know people are concerned that she might be drinking a bit more. Her drinking might become a problem. And so they do visit each other's places. Erik does say he's got, this cat allergy, and sort of they're trying to compromise or come to an agreement of what they're going to do in that regard. And because Erik was saying that at times he doesn't notice that there's a cat, even if cat is present. And so Virginia was trying to say, we'll have to bring my cats. And I think this is where Ryan and Clara are sort of compromising. Erik and Virginia still have work to do. And I think they still need to understand that, you have to be willing to learn about your partner. You have to be willing to compromise, in order to make your relationship work. Because I think with Virginia, she wants her pets to come with her. She wants to club with her friends as usual. And because Erik is really invested in making this relationship work, if he continues to compromise, then one day they're going to come to a head whereby, he's going to have had enough, and then Virginia is going to be surprised that why have he changed, but it's because he's been quiet trying to make things work. I think he needs to voice his opinion a lot more. They meet up with Pastor Carl. They ease this head on whereby Erik is concerned, about her drinking and about her male friends. And Pastor Carl, when Virginia mentions that she's been drunk before and she spent the night at a male friend's house, Pastor Carl is actually able to make her understand that that is concerning behavior, because as a husband, you want to know that your wife is safe. Because Virginia goes on to say, "Oh, I feel like he's checking on me because he asks me to tell him when I get to where I'm going." And I think because of the age difference, it seems she feels like he's trying to parent her when he is a concerned husband, just making sure that his wife has got there safely. So communication, I think is very important with anyone who's in a new relationship. So if she can communicate to him her concerns, and he can communicate, that he's not trying to parent her, but he's actually just worried about her and wants to make sure she's safe, I think this will help them. Um, However, we'll see how they go. Pastor Carl does sort of go into conversation. I think though they have problems, they are not as bad as um, couples like, for example, Haley and Jacob or Chris and Paige. I think they do have things they need to work on, but they're not really that bad. And if they can put their heads down and sort of work hard and sort of reach a compromise, they should be able to get through it. Um, then we come to one of my favorite couples, Briana and Vincent. It was a bit it's a bit sad to watch them struggle because I think they are a very good match. They seem to really like each other. They seem to really care about each other. But then in so doing, they're having issues with communication. Because I know people think Vincent, is low. I don't think he's got low self esteem, in my opinion. I think it's just he's someone who has certain standards and certain things that he values, and he refuses, to be treated. You can't say to someone, "Don't talk to me in that manner." That doesn't mean you have low self esteem. It means you have high regard for yourself, and you will not tolerate certain things because things like her calling, "Oh, you're becoming a Vincent," or "You're doing," you need to take off your shoes. He is a grown man. He's lived in his house. His house seemed very clean. He should know what to do, and you don't. At times, it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. And I think this is the problem they're having, in that because she's used to communicate, because Brianna is used to communicating in a certain way, she doesn't realize that what she's saying, it doesn't come across the way she thinks she's saying it, and that is actually offending the other person. Because towards the end of the episode, where you can see they have a big fallout, but I think she needs to, if nothing else, she needs to look at the episodes when they end, actually see how she was communicating with him so that she can learn and sort of their relationship can grow better. They meet up with Pastor Carl. They are both very happy with their matches. They think everything is perfect. I think with Brianna and Vincent, they're trying to avoid any sort of portraying themselves, either one of them, in a very negative light. So whatever bad things happen, they're trying to cover them up and work on them quietly without sort of airing them out to the audience, which I understand. And it's got its pluses and its negatives. The plus is that there's not that much backlash on them, because other couples in previous seasons have struggled, whereby the viewers have this negative impression of the partner, and they go on to say very mean things which can be very demeaning and really harm a relationship that's still trying to grow. So I think because they're sort of keeping things away from the audience, it makes it difficult for people to have a clear vision of where they're going and what they're actually trying to portray. Because when they meet with Pastor Carl, after they've said everything is perfect, Pastor Carl says, "No, nobody is perfect. There is something going on. You need to let me know." That's when eventually Vincent brings up the communication issue. And I don't think Brian is getting what he's saying. I don't think so, because even when he is upset and he leaves at the end of the episode, she still doesn't understand what's wrong. And I think for her, she's upset at the fact that he leaves, because he said before that when he's upset, he likes to leave and get in his own space. And for her, she told him initially that we should be each other's safe space. So him leaving is an indicator to her, could be an indicator, it could be seen by her as him moving away from their safe space. So I hope next episode they're able to actually sit down and have a better conversation and sort of address what's going on. And if they do stay together, they might need to go just to couples counseling for no other reason but to work on their communication and to make sure that things don't spiral out of control. Because Vincent's concern was he never wants to blow up on Brianna. He never wants to hurt her. But in him not trying to hurt her, he's then keeping quiet, which is then making things worse, because then she is carrying on because she doesn't know what she is doing wrong. So hopefully something will be done, and they'll be able to hopefully they'll be able to learn from this experience and work on their marriage and come out the other side a stronger and a happier couple. Then we move on to trouble child Chris and Paige. Oh God. Okay, Chris. After all the conversations during the honeymoon, the back and forth. I'm falling in love with you spiritually. No, I'm not attracted to you. I want to work with my child's mother. No, I want to stay with you. He then, on the way back to Atlanta, apparently, he buys a ticket and he leaves her to go back to Atlanta on her own, and he proceeds to Chicago. Um, we then see Paige moving to the neutral apartment on her own because Chris is not there. A couple of days later, I think, or a day later, Chris then turns up. For some reason, the producers say that he's refused the cameras, which I don't understand because in Brandon's season, there was a time while they were on honeymoon, when he had a problem with Taylor and he asked for space and he asked the producers to leave him alone and they wouldn't leave him alone and they kept following him with cameras and that kept agitating him more. So I don't understand why, if he was not allowed to do that, why Chris is getting away with being allowed to tell them when he wants the cameras on, when he doesn't want the cameras on, turn off the mics when he doesn't want anyone to hear what he has to say. So he gets there, he turns off the mics, has a conversation with Paige, and then he leaves. Then Paige comes back and phones the producers and lets them know that he says he's spoken to a divorce attorney. He wants a divorce. He wants to try and work things out with his child's mother, and she seems very upset. She seems very distraught. She's very unhappy. He's wasted the time, and she's going to meet up with Pastor Carl, and she's going to air everything out because she's not happy with what's happening. And I think a lot of viewers, like myself, were happy for her because we thought finally she's leaving him because this is not this is not good for her mental health, the way he's been treating her, and hopefully she'll be able to get some help and move on. But then she meets up with Pastor Carl. She's still very unhappy. She tells Pastor Carl everything that has happened. When Pastor Carl asks about the intimacy, she says that yes, she was intimate with him on their wedding night just because she did not want to upset him. And it's like, what in the couple of hours leading to their wedding night led her to this decision? Because on the bachelorette party, she said that no, she wouldn't sleep with someone until she saw papers. And then suddenly she's saying, no, I slept with him because I did not want to upset him. And so you wonder what happened once the cameras went off, or what did she hear from anybody else during the wedding? And so they go, while they're in conversations, and Pastor Carl is sort of trying to speak to her, up comes Chris out of the blue. Um, he then, you can tell. I've never seen Pastor Carl that furious with anyone in all the seasons that I've watched him. He was furious. You could tell he was very disappointed, very disheartened by the way, Brandon had. Sorry, my bad. By the way, Chris had treated uh, poor Paige. And so during the conversation, Pastor Carl asks him about the intimacy question. And he goes on to say, I can't say. And he's got this smirk on his face. I want to be respectful. You want to be respectful about what? What is it? What is it you have to say? Say what you have to say. Don't try and be a gentleman when you've treated this lady like crap all the time. Because even Luke said, he owned up and he said, I slept with you because I wanted you to to help you settle down because you're very distressed. Why not be man enough and give your reason for whatever you're doing? If you know that you're doing the right thing. They then move on to conversation where Pastor Carl tells him about, he's very unhappy with the way he's treated this very beautiful lady. He thought this is what Chris wanted. And Chris brings in, oh, but my ex-fiance is a great lady. Well, if your ex-fiance was a great lady, why did you leave her? Why did you not stay with her? Why apply to this process? Why not stay with your partner, work on whatever problems you had? You're already engaged to the lady. Get married instead of wasting somebody else's time. And so I think, if nothing else, the producers, as soon as Chris came, they should have switched everything off and just allowed Pastor Carl to have a conversation with him just for a few minutes before moving on to the sit down interview. Because I bet Pastor Carl had, some not very nice words to say to him, because I think a lot of viewers were very upset as soon as they saw him come up. So he can see Pastor Carl is not impressed with him. And he's got a smirk all throughout the conversation. And when Pastor Carl leaves, I don't think he even wanted to say goodbye to Chris really, because of the way he reacted and his body language. Anyway, when Pastor Carl leaves, he suddenly leans over and whispers to Paige, and Paige says, "Oh, he said he's afraid to fall in love with me." Why are you afraid to fall in love with someone you're already thinking of divorcing? Someone you've told you're not attracted to? Someone you've told you want to make things work with somebody else? That's when you can see that he's actually manipulating her and using her like a toy, because he knows what to say to her to get whatever reaction he's expecting from her. And when she sort of goes against, when she says anything that he doesn't agree with, you can tell from his body language right from the word go. When she started criticizing him, you could see how upset he was becoming, and everything is about him. Everything is about him. He wants this to be done for him. He wants that to be done for him. And you can see that he knows what he's doing. He's good at what he's doing, because as soon as he tells her that, you can see Paige's body language change, and she becomes more receptive to him. And it's like, no, you said he wants a divorce. You want to end the marriage. There should be no negotiation after that. Enough is enough. You need to move on. You have to value yourself enough to respect yourself, to think, I will not put up with any more of this, and expect better from people. Because if you cannot set guidelines, people will walk all over you. And I don't know why she continues to let this man walk all over her. I don't know. I might be wrong. Somebody else might have a different opinion. Please let me know. Please comment. They then, he went to the apartment to have the conversation, to tell her that, he wanted to separate. But suddenly, when he comes to meet up with Paige and Pastor Carl, he leaves with his bags, because Paige has his bags in the car. And you wonder, would he have come had he known that his bags, Paige didn't have his bags? Or did he come thinking that he could win Pastor Carl over and paint these rosy pictures, and not have Pastor Carl be upset with him? I don't know exactly what he was thinking, and I don't know. I really don't know what he was thinking. It's very upsetting to see it, and it's very, you question why the producers keep letting it carry on this long, and you question why none of Paige's family members have actually sat down with her. Is it because Paige has refused to speak to them on camera? Is it because they've refused to speak to her on camera? But she needs to speak to someone outside of the producers, outside of the experts. She needs to speak to, or the other cast members. She needs to speak to a member of her family, or even her bridesmaids, just to have a conversation and have somebody give an unbiased opinion of what they think, because there's no reason why she should continue to put up with as much as she's putting up with. I I hope somebody is actually helping her, because I I hate to think what this is going to do on her psychologically long term in any future relationships, whether she's going to be able to trust anyone, given how much Chris has put her through. Um, Hopefully she does summon up the courage to leave him. But you see this in a lot of abuse victims, in the sense that, I'm not saying Chris is abusing her, but you see a lot of people, they stay in marriages that everybody else can see are not working. They stay in relationships that everybody else can see are not right for them. And you can never force them to leave unless they're ready to leave. So hopefully at some point she's going to think enough of herself to say enough is enough, and move away from Chris, and hopefully move on after the show and be able to find love elsewhere. Anyway, that's my opinion for now. That's my review for this episode. Please let me know what you think. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight, episode 12, episode 7, season 12.